Hey, Wolfpack Nation, Scott Wood here on Scott Wood's One Man Wolfpack. I hope all you guys enjoy the podcast that we've been doing as much as we're putting it out there. Feel free to like, subscribe, do all those things. We'd like to welcome Joe Giglio from ESPN The Fan. Also, he's been there for like 30 years with News and Observer, I believe. We met a long time ago, back when I was at NC State. We've kind of established a connection. Became friends over the year, played around the golf the other day. I know he wants to bet against my Steelers, so we'll probably touch on that a little bit. Welcome to the show.
Well, I owe you several interviews, so this goes against my tab, right? This comes off.
Hey, I will tell you, it's a little weird that I'm going to be the one asking the questions because this is what you've been doing all the years. So we'll change it up a little bit and see how it goes.
Okay.
All right, so let's kind of jump into it. We're going to touch on the NC State team, but I always want to kind of get the background on who I'm having on the show. So let's kind of touch on, how did you get started on your journalism/media career?
I got started because when I was at NC State, unlike you, I couldn't make open shots. So I wasn't good enough to play basketball. I wasn't good enough to play football, which I did in high school. But I know those sports. I understand those sports. And I had a 7th grade English teacher tell me, you're a pretty good writer. And no one had ever said that to me before. So I thought to myself, well, you're supposed to write what you know. And basketball and football just happened to be what I know. So I started when I was at Technician. Steve Keim, the Arizona Cardinals GM, was my first guy. You were one of my guys. Steve Keim was a right guard on their 95, 96 teams. So it just kind of went from there. Really enjoyed it. Obviously, the ACC has had a lot to offer, and basketball certainly, and football's been an adventure. Back then it was just Florida State, and now it just seems like it's Clemson. But obviously, I've had a lot of fun doing it.
All right, so you graduated from State.
Well, actually, I started working at the NNO in '95, December of '95, as an agate clerk, which is somebody who answers the phone.
Okay.
And somebody who, they don't even put box scores in the paper anymore. But we used to put the box scores in the paper, and I used to have to enter the ACC basketball stats into the paper because people used to like those things. But obviously so much has changed in the newspaper business. I was there my first shift was in December of '95. My last one was March, the NC State Pitt game in the ACC tournament. And then I switched over to Capital Broadcasting. So I'm at 99.9 The Fan here in Raleigh, and you can occasionally see me on WRAL TV.
All right. So you don't show, that you're a State guy, especially when you're doing interviews. So deep down, are you a State guy? That's what I want to know. Because when you're talking to me, you'd think, okay, this guy's from like Carolina, maybe a Duke. But are you a State guy deep down?
I have this conversation often with people who were at either State in, say, '83 or '74, or obviously there are a lot of people in the media from Carolina that have a school. And when they're really good and you win a championship when you're in school, or have a tremendous amount of success when you're in school, I think it kind of pushes you in a direction. When I was in school, NC State was not good in basketball. They did not go to the NCAA tournament. The football team, last 2 of my years there, they won 3 games. So it was easy for me to divorce myself from fandom, in the sense that, if I was there in '83, like I can't tell you who I would be, but I'm also from the New York media market. I grew up in New Jersey. Okay. So like Bill Parcells was the coach I'd read in the paper every day. Billy Martin, the adversarial type coaches with the media, they'd have these relationships. Actually, Bill Parcells went to the high school where my dad taught for 40 years. So it's just one of those things people say, oh, you went to State, you must love State. I'll say this to you, and you see your pick back there. Trevor Lacey's back there. There are people in this that I've covered who I will unabashedly tell you that I liked and that I rooted for and that I wanted to do well. And it does irritate some people at NC State when I lump in, say, a Joel Berry in that conversation, when I lump in, say, Deontay Williams, a Carolina football player, or TJ Yates, Carolina football player, because those are the people that I covered that I enjoyed. You know how it is. And literally now I have to say to people before the pandemic, I have to say to the people at the beginning of the year, Garrett Bradbury, NC State center, was one of them. You're going to be my guy this year. And you know what that means? There's going to be a game you lose, and I need to talk to you, and we need to have like a conversation and not you grunting and being pissed off. And I even now give them the speech and I say, you get one mulligan every year. One mulligan. So there's one time you can say to me, not today, Joe. We're not doing it today. And that's fine. That's the one you get. But in the other times,
I didn't know about any of them mulligans.
I think I did it because of you. I think I created the Scott Wood rule. I think it was, I saw your dad, Greensboro was your last tournament, right? 13.
Yeah.
And he just says to me, I'm like, are we allowed to swear on this program? he just says to me, like, they're just fed up, you know? And you were cranky. You were cranky as a senior. And I said, what is wrong with him? You know, he's just fed up with the whole. Okay, fair. That's fair. I'm not playing. I'm just following it. And I'm the one. And you had the misfortune of being with CJ Leslie, who I did not like. And was not a good talker when you could talk to him. And I like Zoe, but you're just a better talker than Zoe. And Zoe, I would talk often with Zoe, but Lorenzo Brown. And then Rich was volatile, right? So I remember a couple times where CJ Leslie I would push CJ's buttons and he'd be like, you need to say that to Rich, thinking that Rich was going to punch me. No, and I didn't know any of the story of how that season started, by the way. I just remember it was Dayton. We were in Dayton and CJ was like, can you go ask the question to Rich?
See, that's an understandable year for me to be cranky. So I at least tried to power through it the best I could, so I could at least give you enough content to write something. But that was definitely one of those years that, you know, probably a little bit cranky. So let's move on to kind of the state side of it. Sure. State has played, you know, their first two games. I told, you know, Jeff Goodman earlier today, I said, I'm not really going to talk about the second game just because, no offense to North Florida, they're just terrible.
Well, they're better than Charleston Southern, though.
But the first game, we had a first half. They had to play the first half. They had some adversity. I was able to see, you know, a little bit of things transpire and get an idea. So from the first game, if you want to take the second game in, what did you take away from the team and some of your thoughts on that?
Well, when you look across college basketball right now and you look at how inexperienced every group seems to be, and that includes a team that would have a bunch of transfers. We've seen that at NC State before, where you may have older players, but you don't have guys who have actually played together. No. And I think what stands out to me about NC State, DJ Vanderberg, Braxton Beverly, Devin Daniels, they've played together before. And I think that's a huge advantage for NC State this year, especially, remember, Scott, yes, they've been in the gym, but it's not been the same practice level that you would normally have in a run up to a season. So I think that's number one off the top of my head. I say that's a big advantage for them. Number two, their depth. Kevin has often talked about when he was at Hargrave, and, you know, you could bring in 5 more guys and you can press and you can do more things when you have more talented athletic players. And I think they have a deep crop of those. I know he loves the two freshman guards. He really does. And I liked Markel Johnson. I still like Markel Johnson, but he had a difficult relationship with Kevin Keats. And that's just because of Markel's inconsistencies. And he was so married to Markel because he didn't really have any other point guards. I think he's more comfortable with his rotation with this team and the number of options that he has. Those are the two things that I just from watching them play two not so good teams that stand out to me.
Okay, so that'll bring me to my next question. And the biggest thing for me, the whole preseason, is who's going to play point guard? Who's going to run the team? Who's going to control the team? We saw that, the first couple games, Braxton Beverly started at point. Cam Hayes came in. You had Moore coming in. What do you expect moving forward? Because I can tell you, in my mind, I don't see Braxton as the point guard. I don't see him as the long-term solution. I see this as experience early on to be able to get the offense moving. I see him more as a off-the-ball type of guy.
Yeah.
So what do you see moving forward from this point guard group? Because I really don't see Braxton being there much longer.
Braxton might be older than you, so I can't say baby Scott Wood, but I've always thought of Braxton's role as a shooter, as a guy who you could kick out to, knock down a shot, especially when teams with Markelle were helping. And I thought that was his role. I think this year his role right now is probably to, at least at the start of the season, initiate the offense. But with Kevin, and you know more about basketball than I do, Scott, and that is there's a lot of on-ball screens and it's a lot of clear out. So how much of the offense is all that complicated? It's not. So what's important for State, though, is to get Devin into a situation where I think he can be their primary scorer. Kevin likes to use an elbow set with an Iverson screen that he'll probably use Devin on more so this year. But to me, Cam Hayes is the point guard. He'll be the point guard. Shaq Moore is a guy who can also handle the ball, who he can use. He's bringing them along slowly. You were a freshman. I think you started every game your freshman year, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. Luckily.
And that doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah.
But you also had a very specific role, right? Not to diminish your consideration.
Well, I didn't have to. It's a little different when you're playing point guard,
right,
and running the show and understanding, right, okay, we haven't gotten 6 buckets in a row. We need to slow one down and get to the guy we need to get it to get a bucket. So it's also a completely different role. I'm literally coming off a screen and I either shoot it or throw it into Tracy in the post. So, I mean, right, it's a very simple process, but I'm with you. I think Braxton needs to move off ball, be utilized more in the down screens, just because with how much pick and roll this offense does run, you need a guy that can really create an advantage off that pick and roll to, hit the roll guy, to throw it to the shooter because his man's bumping. So it'll be interesting to see when that process kind of happens, because I think it's going to happen. So especially with the first couple games, it was just a little bit sloppy. The first game they had a lot of turnovers. For granted, Charleston Southern had 30 plus turnovers. So it was just a sloppy game, but I'd like to see them kind of get in that rotation a little bit more, just so they can kind of get used to the field, especially with Michigan and UConn coming up. It'll be a little bit different, scenarios with teams that are going to be a little bit better. So it'll definitely be interesting because, they're forcing, I got it, 25 and a half turnovers a game. That's not going to happen against Michigan and UConn. 14 steals a game. That's not going to happen. They're averaging 90 points a game. That's not going to happen. And 17 and a half assists a game. That's not going to happen. So I'm really interested to see when they get in, to this better non-conference / ACC schedule, how these freshmen adjust playing, the point guard position at a high level. So I'm ready for it. Just need to get it going here, because I'm tired of watching the Charleston Southerns and the Floridas.
It's condensed this year too, so be thankful. I love to give Kevin a hard time, even when I'm with him, when I'm not with him, just about the schedule, because 2 years ago they're number 353 in non-conference strength of schedule. Say anything you want about your last coach at NC State, Mark Godfrey. Man, the Got Man knew how to schedule. He knew how to game the system for the NCAA tournament. That is not a trait that Kevin also has. He's more of, I want to pound teams as badly as I can, play as many players as I can, get as much confidence as I can in my group before we get into ACC play.
Yeah, but you got to also have those non-conference games, and I think he's started to kind of, especially after that 1 year, to kind of up the non-conference a little bit. So Devin Daniels, I know we talked via text, and and on the course when we played the other day. He's going to be my guy. I think when State is rolling, it's going to be kind of through him. You kind of know what you're going to get with him. He's going to be high energy. He's going to have to be that guy that can kind of create plays and put the ball in the basket. Kind of touch on what you saw out of him the first game, and then a second question, which you can touch on afterwards. What do you know about the situation with him sitting out for the game? Because I mean, I've heard some stuff, and I can tell you I don't think any of them are true. I think it's all fabricated. But what do you know about that situation, and what do you kind of expect from him?
So let's start with the last question first. You mean he didn't start in the second game
Correct.
After scoring 29 points? With Kevin, that could be any number of things, including being late to a practice, being late to a meeting. He's pretty a stickler on that one. He's not the most organized guy in the history of the world, but he does have rules. And we've seen this before where a guy misses a meeting or misses a shoot around or something, and they end up not starting. It could also just merely be Kevin likes to say, we don't have 5 starters, right? So who are you going to bench against, North Florida? Well, you can go to your senior and say, you know what? I need him off the bench today. That could be any combination of those two things. I'm going to correct you, though, about when NC State is going to be good.
Okay.
Because we have to think about it in your own experience, right? When you have more than one guy going, and I think Devin Daniels will be their best player. I think he'll be their primary scorer. He's the given.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be the other games, which we haven't quite seen yet. And I get it. The two games they've played. I want to see Thomas Allen making shots. I want to see Braxton Beverly making shots. I want to see almost like a second type unit with the young guys and Darian Sebron pressing and pouring it out and really bothering the other team for like for one media timeout segment, for like a 4-minute segment.
Yeah.
I think that would be a great change of pace. You bring in some guys, go to the press, those athletic, use them that way. And then you come back and you say, okay, we can come back and look a little different. Manny Bates, DJ Funderburk, they got some size. He's got a lot of different parts this year. And the one I don't worry about is Devin, obviously. But I do think when they're going to be really good and when they play their best is when they're going to have those other guys knocking down shots.
And I'm a guy that wants, 4 or 5 double-figure scorers. And yeah. I'm not saying he's going to be, averaging 25 a game. For me, I need him almost as the energy guy that is this, like to me, when he goes, this team goes, I guess is the right way to say it. When he is bringing that energy on the defensive end and as well as being aggressive on the offensive end, for granted, I think there's times where he's just pounding the rock a little bit too much. But when he is, kind of very aggressive offensively as well as defensively, I really think he makes the team kind of go on all 8 cylinders, however many cylinders you want your vehicle to be, a little bit better. And I guess that's kind of the way I should have probably worded it. But I'm with you. I do think, they do have that depth with what Coach Keats wants to do, where they want to pressure the ball, where they want to have guys coming in, going out. But I do think they need to find that kind of niche with more guys scoring the basketball and having that availability, which was something I had when I was there. We had at any night, someone could have 18 points. I don't fully see it out of this team. I see a lot of guys, that can get to that 12, 13. I just don't see a big guy besides DJ and Devin currently that could, just have a hot night. So again, interested to see what they do. I think he is going to be their motor, but I think kind of like what you said, we just need that second group to come in and really change the pace, but they also need a scorer in that second group. And I don't know who that will be unless they, leave Devin in that rotation. I'd like to see Braxton coming off a little bit more screens, not so much ball screens. So I'd like to see a second scorer out of that group to really make that group be effective, because I feel like if they just go full on pressure, change the pace, you still need to put the ball in the basket a little bit there. So
that might be Thomas Allen too.
And again,
the transfer from Nebraska, he can shoot.
And he hasn't played great yet.
Yeah.
But again, I do know he's new. It's early on, so he's probably trying to get a feel for where he's at. They haven't had any preseason games, so these are his 2 preseason games. So I think as the season goes on, he'll start to mesh. I mean, he's coming off some injuries and stuff, so it's just a matter of time. So overall, with this team, for granted, it's 2 games against teams that are literally terrible. What are your expectations for the Pack?
I don't think. Well,
they're terrible. Let's just call it how it is. Listen, I haven't played basketball in 3 months. I could roll it out right now. I'll take you. I'll take Jeff Goodman. Give me Coach Keats and give me Dave Doran. I'll take you guys, and we'll go and we beat them.
I with you on Charleston Southern. North Florida won 21 games last year. They're actually not a bad team in the Atlantic Sun.
That's last year. What was it? Hold on,
But they were top 50 Ken Palm in offense last year. So I'm with you. Charleston Southern's not a good team. But North Florida, I'm not suggesting NC State's now going to go win the ACC championship because they blew out North Florida. I'm just saying, put a little respect on the Ospreys, man.
They get this much. That's all I'm getting. If you want me to give them that much, I'll give them this much. That's all I'm doing. So with the 2 semi-okay teams that we played, where do you see State finishing? We'll start with the ACC, and then do you see them as a tournament team?
Again, I'm going to answer the second question first. I think they're a tournament team. Yes.
Okay.
They were a tournament team last year. I'm convinced of that as well. They're pretty similar to that team in the sense that I feel like 10-10, 11-9, maybe 12-8 in the ACC is a ceiling. Probably 12-8 is what you're looking at. Because I just think this is going to be a crazy year in the ACC. It's not going to be unlike your last year, 13, where Miami wins it. And one of the reasons I would get so irritated with you that year and that team was there only so many years where Duke isn't that great and Carolina isn't that. There's only so many of those years. And I think this will be one of those years too, where the door is open. And obviously Virginia is picked to win the league. They're my pick to win the league, but they lost to San Francisco. They're beatable. I don't think this is a year where Tony goes 18-2. Florida State, maybe they're the most talented team in the league. That's what really struck me, Scott, watching Duke and Carolina this week in their basic preseason tournaments, and that they're not super athletic. I think what's happening in college basketball is you're seeing the wings. 6 of the top 33 in the top 100 last year went to the G League. 5 of them were basically wings or guards. And I think Cade Cunningham at Oklahoma State is like the only super athletic. Zaire Williams at Stanford, super athletic guy. But what did I just say? Oklahoma State and Stanford. That's not Duke and Carolina. That's not Kansas. So I think it's an unusual year in college basketball. It's an unusual year in the ACC. But as I tweeted the other day, the door's open. And when you're NC State, you only get so many of these years where the door is open.
And I will say, after watching a few of these games, I know it's Virginia, Duke, Florida State, North Carolina, Louisville, Syracuse, Miami, who was predicted to be ahead of us. I can't say that there ain't any of them that can't be beaten by this State team. So it definitely will be interesting. I think I said it earlier. I was talking with Jeff prior to the show. I think Louisville was my overrated team.
They surprised me though so far.
But that's what they came out to win the 2 games shorthanded.
Yeah.
So they definitely surprised me a little bit. But I'd still say they're probably my overrated team. So I think there's legitimately 3, maybe even 4 teams that I feel like if State can utilize their seniority, I guess, their experience, they have a good chance to maybe creep into that 5 spot, Possibly 4. Just because there's so many unknowns, and I think especially with the virus too, you have no fans. A lot of these, smaller teams now have the opportunity to jump up and beat one of these big teams like a Virginia because there's no pressure. There's not a fan in the stands, so it'll be different to see. But I am hopeful for my state. I'm with you. I think they're going to be a tournament team. I would just like to see them towards the top of the ACC leaderboard so that it takes out any doubt, so I don't have to be on a bubble and have to deal with any of that again. That's just no fun.
What a dream would it be for you to play in that empty Cameron Indoor Stadium like Michigan State played the other day?
Oh, that would be, amazing. I'd just love to hear Coach K talk the whole time. That would just be awesome. What'd you say, Jamie Lucky? Okay. Yeah. That just doesn't sound very appealing to me.
How many threes would you hit in an empty Cameron? I mean, it's the best gym you played in, no?
I wouldn't say it's the best. It's not my favorite.
Really?
No,
the Greensboro Coliseum is your favorite gym, but
yes, Greensboro Coliseum is my favorite gym, and then I don't know what Florida State's gym's called. That would probably be my second pick.
They renovated it.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
All right.
I still remember you texting me from Spain. Hey, did they get new lights at PNC Arena? I was like, only thing Scott would notice.
Well, at least they finally did it. It's still probably a hockey arena to me, but it's all good. But let's move on to some kind of goofier questions. We kind of touched enough on NC State. We've kind of said what we think is going to happen with them. Who is your best interview that you've ever had?
I had a feeling you were going to ask me this.
It's okay if you don't say me. And honestly, it's probably better you don't say me. They'll think you're just a homer.
Yeah. Best interview. Well, coach division, it's Roy Williams.
Okay.
Player division, you may not like this one. It's I'm going to say Trevor Lacey.
That's fine. Trevor don't bother me. Trevor's one of the nicest guys I've ever met.
Yeah, Trevor's one of the smartest guys I ever covered.
He's also very basketball smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's gone on to have a great career overseas. He's making some great money right now, and he's doing well for himself. So you have, one of your favorite interviews. So what is your favorite interview? Like one that you look back and you're like, man, I just got some of the best content you could ever have gotten from this guy. Like, do you look back and say, man, that was one of the best segments I've ever had? Like, I want that one. Who is that?
Well, at the risk of being modest, I have a flair for asking questions in press conference. One that stands out that I remember at the time, like people across the ACC texting me, was when Holden Thorpe, the UNC chancellor, had announced, it was the press conference where they had fired Butch Davis, North Carolina.
Okay.
And I literally read the guy Butch's contract, and I said, why are you paying him to go away? And like the audible gasp in the room, was just like, oh, I can't believe he just said that. And like I said, I had like, I don't know. And I'm not one of these people who likes to tweet while I'm in a press conference, but I just had people like, I just DM me being like, I really can't believe that just happened. So,
hey, you got to ask the hard questions, man. You gotta. Sometimes you don't want to answer, but you gotta ask them. Hey, if I had $1 for every time you or somebody asked me some stupid question I didn't want to answer, but I answered it anyway, and it probably got me in a little bit of trouble. But you go ahead.
Stupid.
Yeah,
I did not inspire the "do you beat your wife" question. Listen, that was not me.
The one thing that I've learned is the media wants to just poke you a little bit to get that one dumb comment out, so then they can blast you all over ESPN or CBS.
Cheat on your wife. Sorry.
Yeah. So, and I'll never forget. I'm telling. At first, I was like, everybody's like, I didn't expect it to go like on Yahoo front page and everything, and then there's like all these people on the comments that are like, oh, he really just said that. Like, did his wife really cheat on him? And then my mom's like getting in the comments like, dude, he asked a stupid question, this and that, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, it blew up a little more than I thought. But I appreciate you coming on the show.
Your mom was there to save your honor.
Hey, listen, if there's one person in my family that'll save my honor and I would put up for a fight, it'd be my mom. So shout out to Tawny, who is probably the best fighting mom there is. So there ain't many people that got kicked out of more games than her either. So one quick Tawny story. I know we're running up on the deadline, but she was in Madison Square Garden. We're playing UConn in the Jimmy V Classic.
Yeah, I was there.
And she's literally right behind the bench. And I didn't know about this at the time, but then after the game, I think it was my cousin or my uncle came up to me and, did you hear your mom going at it with the official? And I guess the official said like something very, very rude. And she got up and was just laying into him. And so the official at Madison Square Garden goes to the score table and says, hey, if that lady says one more thing, she's out of here. So my mom might have been one of the first people to ever probably get kicked. Well, besides Charles Oakley, but to get kicked out of the Madison Square Garden.
Before him.
Yeah. So yeah, she's a fireball. So, but we love her. But I appreciate you being on. Everybody check him out. ESPN The Fan. What is it? The OG?
The OG, 3 to 6, 99.9 The Fan.
99.9. So check him out. He's one of my good buddies. We probably didn't get along great to start off. I just didn't care for the interview side of it. But, we've come a long way playing golf all the time. So please like, subscribe, do all those things. I appreciate Wolfpack Nation listening. Thank you, Joe Giglio, for being on the show. And I'll get back with you guys probably after one of these games. And I really want to do one of the segments after game. I may have you do that with me. We'll just break down the game afterwards. If you get some time, we may do that. I'd like to do maybe the UConn or Michigan game. So again, thanks for being on the show. And this is Scott Woods, One Man Wolfpack. Thank you, guys.